Welcome to another episode of Irtada vs. Mustafa Sports Talk. Today we're going to discuss a fight that occurred last night. I mean, if you can even call it a fight. Whatever the spectacle was last night. I'm talking about the Mayweather versus Logan Paul. I don't know how many of you guys watched it, but we watched it last night and I don't know. I thought it was a terrible, terrible fight. It was boring. There was no excitement in it. The announcers were annoying. It was almost as bad as the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight. In fact, that was better than this fight because at least they had the decency to end the fight after the first round. This one actually went on for 8 rounds, sat through it for all 8 rounds. Complete waste of time. It's just absolutely one of the worst fights I've ever seen. It's really sad what's happening to the sport of boxing, that potentially the greatest boxer of all time is getting his highest paycheck from fighting someone that's fought one boxing fight.
Not his highest paycheck.
Oh, I bet. Well, one of his highest paychecks. I mean, I know Floyd has made a lot more money fighting other fighters, but it's sad to see that at this point of his career, like obviously I don't expect him to go fight a boxer. He's retired. Floyd has done great things in his career. One of the greatest boxers of all time, if not the greatest boxer of all time. But it makes sense for him. Fight someone that you know you're not going to lose to, you know you're not going to get hurt, and you make a good paycheck. It makes sense for Logan Paul. You can fight one of the greatest boxers of all time. If you beat him, you know, everyone's going to talk about you. It's a win-win situation. If you lose, everyone's expecting you to lose, and you're already bigger than him. You have it's funny to say, but I guess you have a puncher's chance. I don't really think so, but it's a good paycheck for him too. So I don't know, but I feel like it's good for the sport of boxing at the same time as bad for the sport of boxing. It's good because it's bringing eyes to the sport of boxing. It's bad because it's making it look like a joke. I don't know. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, it truly was one of the most boring fights I've seen in a long time. But why wouldn't you do it if you're going to make, like, I think Floyd is supposed to make 50 to 100 million, and I think Logan Paul's probably going to make around 10 to 20 million. So it worked out for them. I guess some viewers liked it. I heard some people say that it's good entertainment, but for the true fans, I don't think they liked it, or the true fighters, because it's also a lot to do with jealousy, because a lot of the MMA fighters came out, and a lot of boxers probably going to say it's not good or it's a waste of time because they're not getting paid that type of money. Like, they're going to get like 2-3 million, like the top UFC fighters, plus pay-per-view equal maybe like 10 million. Other than like Conor McGregor, they're going to get like under 10 million most. While these guys are doing an exhibition that no one can win. There's no judges. There's no decision. So no one won the fight. And it's pretty much like planned out that he's not going to be able to hurt Floyd Mayweather even if he tried. So I think it's more jealousy than anything. They want to make that type of money, 50 to 100 million, but they're not going to, because it doesn't come down to if you're a better fighter or not. It comes down to who can bring the most views and who can bring the most audience to a fight.
10 million? Nobody's making 10 million. Not with Dana White around. Come on now. The only people to make 10 million are the people remotely related to Conor McGregor. Those that have fought him in the past, those that might potentially fight him, those that are in his division, or those that are trying to talk about him to get their viewership up. Like you said, it's not about if you're a good fighter or not, or if you're the best fighter or not. It's how many people are watching you fight. You know, it's like the heavyweights of UFC make nothing compared to the heavyweights of boxing. I'm talking about today's heavyweights. Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, they all make more than the UFC fighters in the heavyweight division, than any UFC fighter other than Conor McGregor, really. So, I mean, it's not, I get like Francis Ngannou put that, you know, there's something wrong with the sport. It's not something wrong with the sport, it's no one's really watching the sport. There's no eyes on the sport. There's no eyes on the sport. There's nobody watching them. I remember he came on the podcast with Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson, like, you should have got, like, I don't remember the exact amount that he said, that you should have got, like, I think like 30 million to fight Stipe Miocic, but Mike Tyson's referring to his days. Everyone watched Mike Tyson fight. Nobody's watching Francis Ngannou and Stipe Miocic fight. So there's no way he's gonna make 30 million fighting Stipe Miocic. It's sad, but that's the truth.
Yeah, but Francis Ngannou has a point too, because it's not. It is mostly about viewership, but like I don't think UFC fighters will ever get paid as much as boxers, because as you can see, like Canelo Alvarez gets, I think, 30 million to just step in without any pay-per-view or anything. And some fights in the UFC and pay-per-views have done better than that, but they're getting like 5 million. Like I think the Usman fight did similar to the Canelo Alvarez fight. Usman versus who did he fight last?
Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah, Jorge Masvidal,
Yeah.
or George Masvidal, as they like to say. But he got similar pay-per-view numbers as Canelo Alvarez, I believe. But he got like, I think with pay-per-view buys, he probably made like 5 million, while Canelo probably made over 40 million. So that's why everyone's going into boxing. Everyone's saying, oh, boxing is a freak show, boxing or something. But it's not. It's where all the retired fighters and the old fighters and a lot of fighters are just going to switch over to boxing. Because even if you lose, why would you would have to fight like 20 times in the UFC to get as much money as you're going to get in like 2 fights in boxing. So why would you not just take the 2 fights in boxing, even if you're going to lose, to make the same amount of money? Because at the end of the day, you got to feed your family. You got to make your money. And these fighters aren't getting paid in the UFC. These fighters are definitely not getting paid.
I completely agree with you. The percentage that the UFC fighters make for the pay-per-view buys, the arenas being sold out, is completely being underpaid, and it's just sad. They're being used. They put their life in danger to entertain people, and they don't get paid enough. So I do think this boxing is going to continue. However, I hate this term of freak show boxing, because there's also freak show MMA. Do you forget about CM Punk fighting? That's freak show MMA. James Lights Out Tony fighting? That was also freak show MMA. But unfortunately, they don't make that much money even in freak show MMA as they would in boxing. So as far as it goes, I think these fights are going to continue. As long as fans want to see them, they're going to keep happening. The Paul brothers are going to keep doing boxing fights, and I think a lot of MMA fighters, retired ones, are going to try to fight the Paul brothers, and other maybe YouTube stars, other celebrities are going to try to jump in the boxing ring, because it makes sense. It makes you money. For UFC fighters, it's just sad, but it's the reality. They're not making that much. Well, I guess that's it for today's episode. Let us know what you think about these boxing matches, what you think about fighters paying the UFC. But as always, this has been Sports Talk. Take care and stay safe.